witches, it's Luna here with a reading of the new moon chart for April 1st, 2022. I have this set now for Greenwich Mean Time, Greenwich, England, so it might be a little bit easier if you don't live where I live to find out what time it's happening. This occurs by Greenwich time on April 1st at 6:24 a.m. Okay, so the first thing we want to look at is the actual new moon. Over here, we have the Sun-Moon conjunction on 11 degrees of Aries, but look at how it's bracketed. We have Mercury at 9 on one side and Chiron at 12 on the other. Tight stellium going on there. That is a really highly focused Aries wad. Now, ordinarily, in regular natal astrology, one of the rules of thumb is that anything that is more common carries less weight. It's less significant. So you think about, the sun rising every day isn't a big deal because the sun rises every day. But if the sun rose in the middle of the night one time, that would really get your attention, right? So Mercury is never more than 28 degrees from the sun. So you will never have a natal chart that has even a Sun-Mercury sextile or Sun-Mercury square, or certainly not a Sun-Mercury opposition, because astronomically that never happens. So being so close to the sun all the time, Mercury conjuncts the sun on a very regular basis. So Sun-Mercury conjunction just, in a natal chart means you're a natural communicator, but it's not as big of a deal as like a Sun-Uranus conjunction, for instance. But the kicker in this aspect is that we've got Chiron in here. So Chiron coming in and joining all these together does bring it into high focus. And the Aries new moon to begin with just gives us, aligns our soul with our emotions, our expression of personality and our soul expression with our emotional expression. And in Aries, it means that it is fiery, passionate, and in the present moment. Aries is a cardinal fire sign. So fiery personality traits, cardinal means behavior-wise, knee-jerk, in the moment, right away. I react right away. So this new moon just kicks off us being in the present moment, all fired up for moving into spring if you're in the northern hemisphere. And we throw Mercury in there, and it says we want to express all this verbally. We want to tell everybody about it. We want to talk about who we are and what we feel in no uncertain terms. Sun is exalted in Aries, so it comes to even a higher expression than when it's in its own sign of Leo. So Sun in Aries is all about me. And the same thing with the moon. It just says we express our emotions in a rather hot-headed way. We react to things immediately. And so that's the vibe under this new moon. And then, as I said, you throw Mercury in there, and we want to tell everybody about it. We're going to talk about it nonstop. Now, bringing Chiron in, Chiron represents the nature of our woundedness. Chiron in Aries, and going to expand this out to the collective now. Chiron in Aries brings us into confrontation with our wounds as far as Aries things like war, like self-absorption, like narcissistic tendencies, like I guess that kind of covers it, but everything ruled by Mars: conflict, anger, passion, libido, pioneering, adventuring, forging new trails. Any way that we have been wounded in the exercising of these particular attributes is what Chiron in Aries is representing. So with the new moon here within 1 degree, within less than a degree, exactly conjunct, it says that we have to confront this on a personal level now. There's the sun. So whatever we're dealing with collectively, it's time to root it out on a personal level, on how I express myself. How do I express myself in a way that might wound somebody else, for instance, because I'm just being very self-absorbed and aggressive with the way I express myself? Gosh, something might have happened this week that very succinctly illustrates what I'm talking about here. And the moon in Aries, I mean, this right here, even though it didn't happen on the new moon, this is a perfect illustration of what happened at the Oscars with Will Smith and Chris Rock. Um, really reacting emotionally out of a wounded place and acting on it immediately in an aggressive and violent manner as a means of self-expression. Well, there it is, y'all. The thing I want to point out about this this conjunction, this stellium, though, is that it is not aspected by anything else in the chart. So you see the lines in the middle that indicate aspects beyond the conjunct. These are all conjuncting each other, but that little wad just exists all unto itself in Aries. So that makes it a little bit neater. It says that we can talk about these things. It's time to make a new start in talking about these things in terms of trauma and woundedness and how we can hurt other people and how we have been hurt. So very, very good, contained, cohesive energies on that front. Now, like the full moon chart, full moon in Virgo, if you have not watched that video, please do so. I will link it at the end of this one, because that chart had a symmetry and a cohesion I don't think I've ever seen in a chart. And this one is also very cohesive, just meaning that it's clear. You know, a lot of times you've got a chart and this planet, you know, is aspecting this one and this one's, and it's kind of a mess all over the place. But these two charts have been, it seems like there's an alignment here. It seems like things have coalesced or simplified, or not really simplified, but you know what I mean. Less confusing, less all around, all across the map here. So all eyes now looking at this chart in terms of these aspects lead right down here to the North Node in Taurus. So the North Node is aspecting everything else in this chart in varying ways. The North Node, of course, is the karmic way forward. It's new territory for us as souls, as spirits, and as the collective. The North Node in Taurus says that it is time now to look at how we move ahead in very slow-moving, grounded, practical terms that are based in our value system. Taurus being ruled by Venus, which represents the things that we love, the things that we value, and how we express that. North Node squares this little stellium, and in a natal chart this would actually be a stellium because Mars and Venus are within 7 degrees of each other, but so I'm going to look at it that way. Hey, what the hell, you know, usually I'm a real stickler for what aspects are considered valid in transit charts and what aren't, but you know what, let's just go for it. So we have this Saturn-Mars stellium sitting in Aquarius. Just like I talked about in the last chart, we are bringing our passions and our values, what we love and what we go after, into alignment. And it's called into update. So because it's in Aquarius, it says it's time to awaken to these energies ruled by Uranus, time to update, time to innovate, time to look at what must go, what must change in order to bring our actions into alignment with our values. And with Saturn sitting right smack in the middle of those two, it brings in the karmic vibration. Saturn is the Lord of Karma. The things we decide now, the ways that we update things now will resonate. I mean, as every action does. Karma is nothing less than the law of cause and effect. Plain and simple. No big spiritual overarching thing. It's the law of the universe that says every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's karma. So Saturn sitting in the middle of it just says we won't get away with anything here. If we fuck up, we'll find out about it. I think in lightning speed, being ruled by Uranus, which also represents lightning. Let's say as well that this North Node sitting at 24 degrees of Taurus is in the third decan of Taurus. So decans are 10-degree sections of each sign. There are 3 decans in each. So the decans are ruled by the other signs of that element. So the first decan is ruled by that sign itself, the second by the next sign of that element, and the third by the final sign of that element as you go around the zodiac. So the North Node here is in the Capricorn decan of Taurus. So not only is it squaring Saturn, bringing that karmic impetus in, but it is also ruled by Saturn. So this says that the way forward is absolutely a karmic thing. We are going to see the effects of the choices that we make very, very quickly. So the North Node is squaring these, which means we don't get a choice but to deal with this right now because it's causing us problems. Squares cause internal conflict. So we're having to deal with our own consciences here, looking at what's going on in the world and asking ourselves why. When we look at the invasion of Ukraine, we're asking ourselves, why is this happening now? How can we let this happen? How are we not doing anything about it? So we're looking at what do we need to update about just the way we behave as the collective, as a global entity, and it's because we got all kinds of problems going on. Mars squaring the North Node says we got to move past this now, so we're feeling this terrible tension about getting this shit solved and moving it forward. Saturn squaring the North Node says if you delay, you pay. If you decide to do the Saturnian things of denial and delay and kick it down the road, we are not going to move forward, and we will find that out emphatically. Squares cause problems. Then we have Venus squaring. Now, I will say that the Venus square here is a little less potent because if you can see the dotted line here, it means that it's a separating aspect. So Venus has already done the exact aspect of the square and is moved past, so it's dissipating. So the square of Venus and the North Node says that we've just got to get our values aligned in practical terms in order to move forward. Venus, in fact, rules that North Node. So Venus leading the way, this has got to be centered in values and what we love. And yeah, I think that's all the words I have to say about that. Now, the next thing that the North Node is concerned with is this sextile to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. I mean, the conjunctions in this chart, just like in that full moon chart, are just mind-blowing. So sextiles bring opportunity, and Neptune, Jupiter, both old and new rulers of Pisces, exactly conjunct, sextiling the North Node says we have an opportunity here to look at the suffering that's going on in the world. Pisces rules suffering and sacrifice and spirituality and escapism and illusion and delusion. You know, it rules neuroses and aberrations and weirdnesses of all kinds. So we have an opportunity now to look at all these things in terms of how do we move forward. Who have been the sacrificial lambs? Where are we deluding ourselves? What illusions do we have to lose in order to go back here and really do this updating that we're being absolutely pushed to do right now? How can we apply that filter of, Pisces is about a dissolver of boundaries and the underdog, and so it calls us into caring and generosity for those that are not as privileged as we are, and we have an opportunity under this awareness to bring that in to help us deal with these squares. Right? Now let's look at the third aspect here, which is a trine to Pluto. It's a little wide and it's a separating aspect, but let's look at it nonetheless. Trines bring ease and flow. Trines give a gift. Trines say it is now particularly easy for you to accomplish something and do it well. But unlike squares, trines do not cause tension. They do not generate energy. You have to be aware of what's there and choose to use it. Pluto trining the North Node says we are gifted right now with the ability, with the talent to move forward in a practical way aligned with our values. So Pluto's energy also is inevitable. Like I said, it's a separating aspect, but it does really illustrate the fact that we are going through inevitable change right now. We've pushed things to the ultimate limit. We cannot sustain our way of life anymore on this as a global community, and Pluto is saying it's time to change. Like I said, with Pluto, you do get a choice. It's either willingly or kicking and screaming. Now, I want to point out the last planet in this chart that I have not talked about, and it's Uranus, sitting right here. This planet stands out in its own right because it is considered unaspected. Now, you know, the major aspects are conjunction, sextile, square, trine, inconjunct, and opposition. Any planet that exists in a chart that isn't engaged in one of those aspects is considered unaspected. So here's little Uranus. We could call this a parallel here, but that's a very minor aspect, so we don't consider it. I've never used parallel. And what does that mean? It means that the planet is unaffected by other energies and can operate under its own strength. It can almost act like a rogue. It can, in a natal chart, indicate some energies that are hard for the person to integrate into the rest of their life. But in this, it just says that we have kind of a free agent here. And Uranus, being the awakener, is the one that is shaking us out of our delusions of safety, out of our delusions of separateness from each other. We've become a global community on the heels of this Ukraine invasion, and we see countries behaving differently than they would have in the past because of the impact of these actions. So Uranus gives us this clear ability to wake up, to think on very high humanitarian levels about everything that's going on. And sitting in Taurus, just like the North Node is, it says we can start to innovate, invent, and update a new path that is down to earth, practical, and based in our values. So Uranus rules this whole stellium here. Time to wake up. Wow, incredible chart. There's it's amazing when you go through times like we're living through right now, where you really do see the global impact in an undeniable way, and then you go to a chart and see it absolutely reflected here. It really does just back up belief systems. It really does give me hope, actually, that things do align in the universe. There is a pathway to follow. We do have choice as human beings, and we can choose according to our highest nature rather than our lowest. Also, this Aries WOD really leads the parade out of everything being in these last three signs. We've had this, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, heavy ending energy for quite some time now, except for the moon, because the moon goes through all of them every 28 days. But this transit into Aries and this stellium and this particular new moon chart really does say to me that we're kicking off a new way now. We are coming out of all of this ending, and we have the hope of a new beginning. We have energies available to us if we're willing to open our eyes, if we're willing to be compassionate, if we're willing to let go of our illusions and delusions, if we're willing to wake up, innovate, and change. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please drop some comments down below. Tell me what you see in this chart, what you agree with, or is there anything that I missed? I'd love to hear from you. Also, while you're at it, hit subscribe and like. Share this with people that you think might get something out of it. I will see you next time, and until then, this is Luna. Blessed be.